Hello. So making a little video to help out with separation anxiety. That was the assignment at the end of your module this week. What I wanted you to do, that page right before this one, the explanation for separable prefix verbs. So this guy, I tried to explain that a little bit. Like in English, I turn the music down. But if you've had any English teachers that I had, they always said, "Oh, never end the sentence with a preposition." So they made me I turned down the music. I figure either one of those ways is right, but I'm not an English teacher, so don't tell your English teachers I said that. But in German, you kind of have to do it this blue way. You have to take a word. In German, the word downturn would be one word. If you went to look it up in a dictionary, but when you use it, when it gets placed into a sentence, you would break up down and turn and do something very similar to this blue sentence. So you would break apart the down, which would be your prefix, and the turn, which would be the actual conjugated working part of the verb. So let's scroll down just a little bit to one where I actually did that. The verb hören is a verb we've had. It means to hear or to listen. And when you use it by itself, it just becomes ich höre die Musik. I translated it here is I hear the music. But when you conjugate it as the verb aufhören, which has the separable prefix of auf, A-U-F. I don't know why it's not letting me highlight all of that. There we go. A-U-F as auf. Then let's make that a little bigger. There we go. So if you're conjugating aufhören, which is quite a different word in its meaning. Aufhören means to stop. So hören means to hear, but aufhören means to stop. So if you use aufhören in a sentence, the first part of that, ich höre die Musik, that part's exactly the same as this green one. But you take that prefix auf and you separate it, hence the name separable prefix. You separate that prefix off and put it at the end. So ich höre die Musik auf means I stop or am stopping the music. So you move that prefix off to the end of the sentence. Technically to the end of the clause, but we haven't really done compound sentences yet. But I gave you a couple of videos here where other people do that. I would suggest watching this guy because they do a great job of making the little pieces of the sentence. You can kind of see in the thumbnail there. They make the little pieces of the sentence modular, and move them around so that you can see where they go in the sentence. And they break the words apart. They show you the meaning of a verb without a prefix and then what the prefix changes about that verb. So look over those again if you're having trouble with separation anxiety exercise. But when you actually get into the separation anxiety exercise, let me pull that one up. If you look at the blue here, I tried to explain, apparently I have a handout. Nobody said anything about that. Oh, come on, handout. It's like we've gone Canadian. But it says, I want you to do a couple of things with the following handout. What I want you to do with that, sorry, I'm enjoying that word a little too much. But what I want you to do with that, first read over it. There's a sizable amount of information in here. It goes over how to break those up just like I did just then. And then it gives you a ton of examples. I'm not going to have you know every one of those separable prefix verbs. We'll probably pare down a list and talk about ones that are more important maybe next week. But I wanted you to see that there are a ton. They've grouped them as they belong to certain prefixes, like there's a couple with for. If you look back up here, there's a couple with nach. There's 2 or 3 with mit. There's a lot with aus. There's a lot with auf. There's a lot with on, ab. But if you look at what some of them do, like this guy, when it was just stehen, it means to stand. But add auf to it, and it's the act of standing up. You're getting up from where you're at. Räumen means is to be tidy or to be neat. And aufräumen adds to tidy up, to organize. Here they've got to clean up. It wouldn't exactly be like you're removing chemical waste or anything. It'd be like if your parents told you to clean your room and you were going around picking up clothing and just organizing things and tidying up. Nobody really uses the word tidy anymore, but I like tidy. But to tidy up or to clean up, as they've got here. But anyway, the first part of the assignment, I just wanted you to read over this to get yet another explanation of how to do the separable prefix verbs. And then also to just see all of these examples of separable prefix verbs. Now, one thing that is very important to notice, right here, right after the word zusammen, right after that, it says some German verbs have recognizable prefixes that are inseparable. These guys do not pull apart. So inseparable prefix verbs do not come apart when you're using them. They're a different animal. We'll work with them more. Well, we don't even really have to focus differently on them because inseparable prefix verbs work for now in the present tense very similar to any other verb we've had in the past before we did separable prefix verbs. You just use them in a sentence. They give you some examples of the word zerstören. What's zerstören? Beautiful word to know, to destroy. They give some kind of depressing stories there. Why would they do that? Why would those be the stories the ones they use? Oh well. But these work just like any other verb. So don't focus as much on the inseparable ones. That's the bottom ones there. Blah, blah, blah. Let's skip over those. But here's the last part. The last couple of parts are going to come from this. So in part B, I said, do the exercise at the bottom of the sheet. If you scroll all the way down to the bottom of the sheet, there are 8 sentences, and they've given you the pieces of the sentence already. What I want you to do, figure out if these guys are one of those separable prefix verbs. So all you got to do, look at the verb, scroll back up. They were in alphabetical order, and lo and behold, vorbeikommen is one of your separable prefix verbs. It's right there. So when you go to use it, it will have to be broken apart. Now, all these pieces they've got. We've had ich. Ich just means I. That's going to be your subject. Vorbeikommen is your verb. Heute and 8 Uhr are both times. It's just today at 8 o'clock. So what we're going to want this to say, we're going to want to use vorbeikommen. If you look up here, it even told you what it meant, to come by. So what you're going to want it to say in English is I come by today at 8 o'clock. I guess technically in English it'd be better to say am coming by. So I am coming by today at 8 o'clock. And what I did, I went ahead and opened a Google Doc and just copied this exact thing into it. You don't have to have all of it copied in there. I just copied it because it was a little easier for me to read in here. But all you need to turn in is these 8 sentences down at the bottom. So if you want to just copy those 8 sentences and just nix the rest of that. Oh, I hope I didn't get rid of all of it. Did I? Oh no. Oh, I did. Undo. Let's try it this way. Sometimes sound effects help. Let's see. Oh, come on, Google Docs. Don't treat me like this. Anyway, you could just cut and paste that very bottom part. You don't have to have the whole thing. It's just wanting to be a little difficult. But all I would want you to do, somewhere in this line here, we're going to try and put this guy together. Just because I hate when it doesn't have a line under it. I'm going to go ahead and pick the under on it. But you're going to start with ich. Ich is your subject. I capitalized it because it's now part of the sentence. It's the beginning of the sentence. Then, out of vorbeikommen, The part that's the prefix, if you looked on that sheet, a little higher up here, vorbei is your prefix. So vorbei is going to come off of that. So pretend you just rip those two in two right here between the I and kommen. The actual verb part of it, kommen, is what you're going to put up here with ich. That's the part you're going to conjugate. So komme goes right there. Just like it would if it was just the verb kommen for to come. You just conjugate kommen to go with ich. All right? Then, between heute and 8 Uhr, we talked about sentence word order. With time, I would just keep all of that time in the same order. They've already given it to you right here. So I would just say heute 8 Uhr. So ich komme heute 8 Uhr. And then so that it's to come by instead of just to come. Because if I do this, that's a sentence that makes perfect sense. It says, I'm coming today at 8 o'clock. But since we want to say I'm coming by, we got to have that separable prefix of vorbei. That just goes at the end. So ich komme heute 8 Uhr vorbei. All right. This guy, oh, why did they do that? Did they give you an example of one like that? Let's see if they gave us an example of that. Here we go. Here's a good example to look at for that one. Anytime you have a word like müssen, können, mögen, so have to, like to, want to, anytime you've got one of those words, they're called modals. We have 6 of those in German. Anytime you've got one of those 6 modals, notice what they did here. They conjugated the modal, and they kept that separable prefix verb all together by itself at the end. There's only one of those. So if that doesn't make a lot of sense to you, just watch me do that one and then go right back to what we did in number 1. So number 2 here, it's just mean that I didn't even notice that one was in there. I tried to pare those down. There were originally 18 or 20 of them, and I pared them down, but I guess I missed this guy. But when you do this one, start it with your question word, wann. Then we're going to need this guy. We're going to need müssen, but it loses its umlaut, so müsst. Oh. Du aufstehen. That one was very similar to their example up there. But wann musst du aufstehen? So when do you have to get up? If you look back up there, aufstehen is one of these guys. Aufstehen, to get up, to stand up. So, wann musst du aufstehen? I think that's the only one that's weird like that. Yeah, the rest of them are going to work. So number 2 is a weird one. Just follow my lead and do that one. But number 1 is how most of the rest of those are going to look. You're going to look back up there to see where the prefix comes off of it. You're going to pull that prefix off and put it at the end of the sentence. You're going to treat the verb that's left behind. So in this case, kommen. Treat it exactly like you treated any of the verbs before now. Just conjugate it to fit with whatever you got here at the front. All right. But do be careful. They threw a couple in there. I would scroll back up here and look for those words through the examples. If you don't want to keep all of those in one page, by all means, scroll back over to the actual assignment. Look back up through there because, like gewinnen, that's inseparable. So gewinnen is inseparable. Is an inseparable prefix. So if you have one like erkennen, that one is inseparable. So those work a little different. Those are going to work just a tad bit different. All right. So do be careful. If they're inseparable, let's see, how many inseparables do I see? I see 1, 2, 3 inseparables in there. If they're inseparable, treat it like any other verb we've done up until now. Just put it in there. Like here, zerstören.